I've taken the time to study the all-22 coaches film from the Buffalo Bills Week 3 win over the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I'm sharing my top takeaways today on Locked On Bills.
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino, author of Go Bills and Buffalo's Run, also the co-host of the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast, and I'm your host of Locked On Bills. Want to thank you for making Locked On Bills your first listen every day, and a big welcome and shout out to our everydayers. You know who you are. Those of you who never miss a single episode, I appreciate y'all being here very, very much. I'd also like to invite you to subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Well, folks, welcome in. Spent Tuesday breaking down this Bills win over the Jaguars, a 47-10 statement win on Monday Night Football, and I'm here to share with you my top takeaways from studying the film. Want to get into the keys to the offensive game plan. We'll talk snap counts, defensive game plan, have some standouts on the defensive side of the football that I really want to break down, talk about that blocked extra point, and give you my studs and duds. Let's start with this offensive game plan. Joe Brady was in his bag. You knew it watching the game. You saw it when you studied the All-22. We talked about it all week. Everybody knew the Jacksonville Jaguars were going to run man coverage, and they did. And the Bills were ready for it. And I think the foundation of the game plan, outside of just good execution, was Joe Brady's incorporation of motion into the operation. There's been a decent amount of motion to this point, weeks 1 and week 2, but week 3, there was a lot of motion. And what motion unlocked for the Bills on offense was tells. By motioning against a man coverage defense, you forced Jacksonville to declare who was covering who. And because of that, you get really good pre-snap reads, and Josh Allen could anticipate where the space was going to be post-snap. So you get tells, you understand what the matchups are going to be, and you can also dictate matchups. A good example of that's the Ty Johnson touchdown reception. Dawson Knox comes in motion. That forced everybody to move over one guy. The next thing you know, Chad Muma, a linebacker, is one-on-one with Ty Johnson down the field. Ty Johnson's a better athlete. Josh Allen moved to his left, bought a little extra time, flicked his wrist, and he's got a bucket throw for a touchdown because he knew the matchup and he knew where the space was going to be. You had example after example of that happening throughout the course of the game. So you're getting tells, you're dictating matchups, you're dictating spacing. And then Josh Allen just executed at a high level, at an extremely high level. I just could not be more satisfied with how Josh Allen is playing the quarterback position right now. He's not getting bored with the easy button throws. He's not getting bored with checkdowns. You're seeing crazy coverage shells against him. They're daring him to throw the ball down the field, and they're daring him to not take the check down. Josh Allen's taking the check down. Great example of that. They're working on some deep concepts midfield. Jacksonville's in a too high coverage shell. It's play action. They take away everything down the field, but that leaves James Cook wide open. 1st and 10, dump it down to James Cook. You get 18 yards. There's nothing boring about 18 yards on first down. It's just smart quarterback play, smart execution. It's everything I've dreamed Josh Allen would become, happening right before our eyes. And Joe Brady's got answers built in, and guys are executing. Play action was a thing in this game after a very low percentage the first 2 weeks of the season, about 16%. The play action percentage in this game, 32.4%. I could weep in happiness. You saw it. And so now you got man coverage where, when you're in man coverage defensively, you're really not as involved with the run fits. But what you are dictating from a offensive perspective with that play fake is you're sucking up those linebackers, creating space. And look, Josh Allen, on a lot of those play action passes, they were trying to serve up some stuff down the field. He just took the check down, catch and run, bunch of yards. It's a beautiful thing. Tom Brady is going to go to the Hall of Fame and go down as the greatest quarterback to ever play because he consistently took the check down. He consistently took free access. He knew where space was going to be. He got the ball out of his hands. Revered as the greatest of all time because he could just do that over and over again and never get bored with it. 32.4% play action percentage. Beautiful thing. Yards after catch. Wow. 7.7 yards after catch per completion. Bills had 266 passing yards in this game, 185 of those coming after the catch. It's awesome. How does that happen? Well, it's partly checkdowns, but also man coverage. Hey, you want to play man coverage? Our protection's going to hold up. Josh Allen holds on to the ball, nearly 3 seconds average time to throw. And so when your protection holds up and your quarterback can hold on to the ball and you're going up against man coverage, it's hard for corners to stay in phase and be connected for that long. These guys are running away from coverage. You're running man beaters. Running away. You're not sitting in zones. You're running away from defenders. And if your quarterback has time to hit receivers in stride that are open because the defensive backfield has been stressed to cover for so long, they catch the ball, they turn and run, and they get a lot of yards. You saw it happen over and over again. Khalil Shakir ate up. I mean, his touchdown was just a little shallow drag route. Nothing special. Nothing crazy schematically with that. Shallow drag. Josh Allen's able to hit him in rhythm, catch and run, touchdown. Put it on the board. Accurate throws. I'm in love with how this offense is operating. It's a beautiful thing. And look, if you're part of the Locked On Bills subtext community, I sent you a file on Tuesday night, 36 minutes of me breaking down plays, showing you exactly, hey, this motion opened up this thing. Josh Allen did this. The protection was here. The route showed you tons of examples. We had fun. So if you'd like to be part of that, if you want to get that file every week after the Bills games, be part of the Locked On Bills subtext community. You get that. You get my first reaction to all major Bills news. You get my in-game analysis. So many cool things. There's a link in today's show notes to be part of the subtext community. Then you also get access to our Discord channel where we have tons of stuff going on. In fact, Wednesday night, I'm hosting a Bills unique memorabilia contest where I'm going to be on camera with anybody who wants to come on with me, showing me whatever unique Bills memorabilia they have. Next week, we're hosting a Bills Easy Trivia Night, and we're doing stuff all the time in the Discord channel. Over 1,100 Bills fans in there. Come be part of it. You become part of it with either a subtext subscription or a Substack subscription where I'm writing articles, 3 articles a week. Wrote a big picture thoughts article on this Jaguars game. Have a Josh Allen scouting and metrics article coming out on Thursday, a scouting matchup preview against Baltimore coming out on Friday. That's the weekly content that you get on the Substack. So a lot of great things going on around this podcast that I'm super excited about, and I'd love for you to be part of. Either one of those gets you into the Discord channel. We're having a ton of fun. Point being, Joe Brady knew what Jacksonville was going to do, anticipated looks, had answers built in, and the players executed the game plan. Offensive line was terrific. And I want to get, as I work through the snap counts, I'll kind of get into some of my additional commentary on individual player performances. 64 snaps for the Bills on offense in this game. Josh Allen, 56. Mitch Trubisky, 8. At running back, again, 64 total snaps. James Cook, 32. Ty Johnson, 18. Ray Davis, 12. Reggie Gilliam, 7. One of the interesting nuggets that continues to be a bit of a trend is the types of runs that they're running with James Cook and the types of runs that they're running with Ray Davis. James Cook carries are skewing heavy towards zone runs. Ray Davis carries are skewing heavily towards gap runs. I think that just fits their skill sets a little bit better. At tight end, Dalton Kincaid, 34 of 64 snaps. Dawson Knox, 33. Q Morris, 9. Alec Anderson, 8 as that jumbo tight end role. One thing I'll say, I talked a lot about the first 2 weeks of the season. The Bills ran 5-man protections 86% of the time. Definitely not the case. I don't have the numbers for this game, but you saw a lot more incorporation of tight ends, backs, Anderson to create some additional protection. And I think that comes from, like I talked about, man coverage. Give them a little time to run away from coverage, and you'll get the plays that you want. That happened in this game. So the adaptability of the offense is also really exciting. And you saw some new wrinkles in this game. At wide receiver, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, your leading snap taker, 49 of 64 snaps. Mac Hollins, 46. Khalil Shakir, 35. Keon Coleman, 20. Curtis Samuel, 17. And look, I think you saw a little bit more of the vision for Curtis Samuel. That dude's lightning in a bottle in terms of that acceleration, right? He can get it going. He gets to that top speed quick. It's just a matter of time before I think they start to break things open with Curtis Samuel. You saw him get a handoff in the game. There were some looks that he had down the field. You know, I think that his role is just going to continue to evolve as kind of an X factor for this offense. Offensive line, Spencer Brown, David Edwards play all 64 snaps. Osiris Torrance, 61 snaps. McGovern and Dawkins, 56 snaps. Alec Anderson, Cedric Van Pran Granger, 8 snaps. Tylen Grable, 3 snaps. Unfortunately, Tylen Grable with a core muscle injury that will keep him out for some time, according to Sean McDermott. I thought this was the best performance from the interior offensive line this season. You've heard me talk a bit about how Dawkins and Brown are playing at an elite level. The tape confirmed that, but the middle three was where you kind of thought there was some room for growth. And I thought you saw that against Jacksonville, much more cohesive in the run game. Communication was really good in pass pro. And I thought they took a step forward, that middle three, this week. So those are my thoughts on the offensive side of the ball. Coming up on the other side of it, we're talking defense, a little bit of special teams, and my studs and duds from the performance. Folks, be sure to stick with me. What's something you'd love to learn as an adult? Do you make time to learn new things as often as you like, or was that lost in childhood? Kids are always learning and growing, but as adults, sometimes we lose that curiosity. What's something you'd like to learn? Gardening, a new language, or maybe how to finally beat your best friend in bowling. Therapy can help you reconnect with your sense of wonder because your back-to-school era can come at any age. Therapy is helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It's not just for people who have experienced major trauma. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp, who is sponsoring today's episode. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOn today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOn. Hey, NFL fans, you could start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Let's talk about this defense. Such a good night for the offense, right? 6 touchdowns by 6 different players. 5 touchdown drives to start the game. But this defense was really good too. Really good. And I think the keys for this game defensively were, first of all, a little bit more variance with their coverages. We talked last week about how Buffalo shut down Miami. I think some of that was game script dependent, but also they ran 75% middle of the field open, too high coverage shell. That's pretty much where they lived. And they dared Miami to be patient. Miami wasn't patient. They didn't stick to the run, and the game got away from them. A lot more variance, a lot more uniqueness with the looks that they gave to Jacksonville. They played 45% one high middle of the field closed coverage. They played 55% two high middle of the field open coverage. So a lot more variance right there. And then you also saw them get to those looks with disguise a lot more. And that makes sense, right? The Dolphins, quick game, balls coming out quick. You can disguise, and you should, but it's not as deliberate maybe as against Jacksonville, where you knew that Jacksonville was throwing the ball down the field at a higher rate than any team in the NFL. And sometimes you want to maybe invite some of those looks with your pre-snap looks, and then it kind of change the picture post-snap. I think it worked. Trevor Lawrence, only 5% of his throws were 20 yards or more down the field. That's like 16% lower than it's been in the first 2 weeks of the season. So I think that variance in the coverage shells that you presented to the offense mattered a good bit in this game. I also thought from a rush perspective, the Bills pass rush, I thought they did a really good job of loading the fronts to one side to force one-on-one matchups with their edge rushers against the tackles. You could tell that the Bills didn't have a lot of respect for the tackles, Anton Harrison and Cam Robinson. In fact, I thought they beat up on Cam Robinson more than any other offensive lineman in this game. And they wanted to isolate one-on-ones. I talk about it a lot. Like, pass rush, not just about one guy hitting a pass rush move and beating a block, right? It's really a collaborative effort. You got to work together to attack the pocket and get matchups that are good. And I thought they loaded up some sides and really forced the protections to slide one way, isolate that tackle against your edge rusher. And the Bills edge rushers won very, very consistently. I thought they were terrific in this game. In fact, let's go right there. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit in my notes, but I want to kind of really build on this thought. I thought Von Miller was awesome in this game. Of course, he had the sack, which was a great rush, finesse rush from him, where he gave a little stutter step, and it was against Walker Little. Walker Little got out of his cadence with his kick set. He kind of had to pause in his tracks, and that's all you're trying to do as a pass rusher. You want to soften up an edge so you can get around and flatten and finish. And when he was able to get Walker Little out of that kick step cadence, blew right by him. Great finishing speed to get Trevor Lawrence on the ground. But I think he was close to 3 or 4 other sacks in this game. Von all the way back. I mean, he just continues to validate it every single week. And the way that they're using him, obviously a reduced role, it's helping maximize what he can give to this football team. And right now it's really working out. I thought Greg Rousseau was terrific. I don't know that the box score is going to tell you that, but his pressure was really consistent. He was close on multiple sacks. And the way that he just compromises the width of the pocket, really, if it's not him creating pressure and winning, it's really advantageous for the rest of the group. I thought this was a good showcase of how that is possible. Epenesa was terrific. I mean, not just as a pass rusher, he had a great sack against Cam Robinson. Beautiful move. He kind of stunned him with a one-arm stab, showing that he was going to power rush and try to bowl and play through him. He took that one-arm stab into a rip move where he reduced that shoulder and just took away all the surface area from the offensive tackle. He was able to kind of flatten and finish. It was a great rush. And then he also had a few other plays where, the run defense was outstanding, where he actually caved down an entire side, where he's squeezing down a gap. And, one time the Jaguars were running to the opposite A gap, and AJ took Cam Robinson for a ride down the line of scrimmage. And really, Cam Robinson made the tackle. I mean, AJ played great in this game. Tuhill, his sack was pure effort, really funky pocket management from Trevor Lawrence. There was only one pressure coming. It was Tuhill, and Tuhill didn't win. I mean, Walker Little did a great job working him past the pocket. And then Trevor Lawrence is just standing there all of a sudden pirouettes for no reason. I mean, absolutely no reason. Doohill works back because the pirouette gives him time to get there, and he makes the sack. You got Javon Solomon's first career sack in his NFL debut. Interesting play. Not an identifiable pass rush that I've ever seen. He kind of took an outside jab and just hopped through. I mean, he kind of hopped through the B gap and gave a little club rip and was able to get the ball free. So some really fun sacks, not to mention really good pressure call for the Jamarcus Ingram sack where, they have Vaughn kind of cave down. Cam Lewis loops around that outside, blitzing from the second level. You have a front side blitz from Jamarcus Ingram, and you got pressure from multiple different angles that kind of freezes Trevor Lawrence, and Jamarcus Ingram gets the finish and does a really good job of not getting too far up the field. I mean, some really good pressure stuff in this game. And that's what happens when you get a lead. I wrote about this in my Substack article about the defensive big plays that keep happening. When you can play with a lead and you can be aggressive and hunt and really tee off, it's night and day for your ability to affect the quarterback. I mean, the Miami game's a great example. The Dolphins had what they wanted running the ball. The Bills were giving it to them. And when the game script was more neutral, the Bills weren't that disruptive with their front. When the Bills were up 2-3 scores and they could tee off, they were destroying those offensive linemen. Game script matters so much. Complementary football matters so much. And I thought you saw the Bills defense really kind of heat up as this thing moved along. And they become one-dimensional on offense. It's a big deal. So all that to say that I really enjoyed the edge rushers. Two other players that I want to shout out on this defense. Christian Benford. I think Christian Benford might be my favorite player on this defense. He's phenomenal. Gave up one catch for a yard. It was 1 yard. It was Brenton Strange caught the ball, and Benford came over and just gave him this hard paw to try to rake that thing out. He was targeted 3 times, gave up one catch for 1 yard. So far this season, Christian Benford's been targeted 13 times. He's given up 5 catches for 26 yards, has a pick. It's a passer rating against his coverage of 14.6. He's awesome. I mean, he's awesome. Mirror and matching Brian Thomas Jr. multiple times, who candidly is a better athlete, like a way more explosive athlete. But because Benford trusts his technique, trusts the leverage of the defense, knows where he's supposed to be, smart, boy, he could take guys off the menu. Takes them off the menu. I mean, there were some teach tape moments in this game from Christian Benford. And obviously he's assignment driven. He's sound. He's reliable in terms of executing his assignments, but it's the edge that he plays with that just gravitates me to him, right? Like I love the way he plays the game. There is an edge. There is a competitive fire in him that, I mean, I love it. I'm in love with it. Even when he's tackling, he comes in and he hits. When guys are trying to catch a pass, he is raking at the ball repeatedly. There was a catch that, he was this deep zone defender. He comes downhill to make a tackle, and he's peanut punching that ball out of the player. And, it's a step out of bounds, but it's in him, right? And that sends such a big message. When guys are going up against Christian Benford, they know they better come ready for a heavyweight fight because Christian Benford's going to swing all game long. You want to catch a pass? Okay, he's going to tackle you hard. You want to catch a pass? Well, you better squeeze it in because Christian Benford's going to rake at that football and try to, dislodge it from you. You better come ready to go. Nothing's going to be cheap against Christian Benford. Love the player. Love the player. Don't be surprised when this dude signs a contract extension next offseason and it's $20 million a year, maybe more. I mean, that's what Tyson Campbell got. That's what A.J. Terrell got. Give me Christian Benford all day long. Stud. Boy, he's a stud. Dorian Williams, the other player I really want to mention. Clearly the best game he's played. Clearly. And the coverage stuff was phenomenal in this game. He carried Travis Etienne on a rail route down the field. He was targeted 5 times in coverage, gave up 3 catches for 8 yards. Had 5 stops. So that means 5 different tackles that resulted in offensive failure for Jacksonville. So it's based on percentage of the line to gain. 5 stops. Had 2 pressures and 3 pass rush snaps. Dude was balling in every imaginable way as a run defender, in coverage, and as a pass rusher. Dude's like blossoming right before our eyes. That just the next guy, right? Player development under this coaching staff is off the charts. It's unbelievable. Spencer Brown. Dude's becoming one of the best tackles in the game. Deion Dawkins playing at an unbelievable level. Josh Allen, Khalil Shakir, Christian Benford. Look at how Damar Hamlin's playing. Cam Lewis, Jamarcus Ingram, Dorian Williams. This is unbelievable. There's not one question to be had about how the Bills develop their talent. It's off the charts. Nothing is stagnant. Beautiful thing. And that's what happens when you're in year 8. This is year 8 for Beane and McDermott. And when you have a commitment to a philosophy, a system in place that's established, this is what can happen. You know, these teams, they switch coaches and GMs every 2 to 3 years. There's no opportunity for this type of consistency, these types of processes and systems in place to unlock the potential of players. I mean, most guys are getting drafted, and then a different regime comes in 2 or 3 years later that didn't draft that player. There's no plan. There's no plan for them. When you're able to have this type of continuity, this is what you can do in terms of unlocking player development. It's all over the place. Terrell Bernard, I mean, I could sit here all day. Really excited about Dorian Williams. And it's like you start to ask yourself questions. How does he see the field with a healthy Milano and Bernard? Good problem to have. Really good problem to have. Real quick on the blocked extra point. 100% on Tylen Grable, in my opinion. The Jaguars sent 2 right at him. His pads were high, and so they were able to push him right back. Hands up, block the kick. I thought the height and mechanics of the operation were just fine. From the snapper to the holder to the kicker, I thought Tylen Grable got blasted. He got stood up. His pads were high, and they got a hand on the ball. So put your pitchforks down on being after Tyler Bass for that one. You know me, I'll blame Tyler Bass when he deserves it, but I don't think he deserves it for this one. That was too much penetration. Defensive snap counts. 71 defensive snaps for the Buffalo Bills. At defensive end, Greg Rousseau, 41. Casey Toohill, 29 snaps. That guy's getting some playing time. And I don't think he's a great player, but he plays hard. I'll tell you that. He plays hard. He plays hard. Runs to the ball. A.J. Epenesa, 27 snaps. Von Miller, 26. DeJuan Smoot, 20. Javon Solomon, 14. A quick note here on DeJuan Smoot. 20 snaps for the Bills. 13 at defensive tackle, lining up in the A gap or the B gap. So he's very much part of this long and late down rush plan where he's going to play interior gaps. We got a first opportunity to see that in games. So throughout camp, it kind of became obvious that was his role. You really got a chance to see it in this one. At defensive tackle, Ed Oliver, 44. Daquan Jones, 31. Austin Johnson, 29. Dwayne Carter, 23. You know, this is a group that has been okay, but I still think they can all play at a higher level than what we're seeing. And that gets me excited when I think about, all right, where's the room on this defense to get better? And I think certainly that starts with players getting healthy like Milano Bernard and Taron Johnson, but I think you can get more out of these defensive tackles. I don't think they're playing bad. I just think that we know they're capable of more impact. Linebacker, Balin Spector, 57 snaps. Dorian Williams, 42. Joe Andreessen, 14. Nicholas Moreau, 14. At cornerback, Christian Benford plays 60 of 71 snaps. Rasul Douglas, 57. Cam Lewis, 56. Kyer Elam, 14. Brandon Codrington, 11. At safety, Damar Hamlin, 71. Taylor Rapp, 57. Jamarcus Ingram, 40. Cole Bishop, 14. So it's been nice the last few weeks. Some of these guys, like a Cole Bishop, a Cedric Van Pran Granger, Tylen Grable, are getting some run late in the game. You know, it's not like they're needed to make a big impact in those moments, but those reps, they matter. They all matter. And so it's been nice to have leads and have a chance to put players in low pressure situations where they can gain a little experience. Want to give you my studs and duds. Spoiler, no duds. You kidding me? 47-10 win. There's no duds. Studs, we got a robust list, but try to be mindful of not including like every player. Like, you didn't just make a play. Like, you had a consistent, meaningful impact on the game. Josh Allen, stud. Dalton Kincaid, stud. Khalil Shakir, stud. Deion Dawkins, Spencer Brown, studs. Put Osiris Torrance in this bucket because I think he's been the worst offensive lineman, and I thought he played his best game. And so I didn't want to put all the offensive linemen, but I think the growth that we saw from him was notable in this one. Dorian Williams, stud. Greg Rousseau, stud. Von Miller, stud. Jamarcus Ingram, stud. Jamarcus Ingram, that red zone rep was really good. Christian Kirk targeted kind of towards the corner of the end zone. And Jamarcus Ingram conceded some vertical leverage, but I thought he recovered extremely well. And when the ball was arriving, just did a great job of playing with good technique, playing through the hands, right? You're not going to be able to get your head around and find the football. Play through the hands. Great job. Like in a high leverage moment, red zone target, right? To be able to trust that technique, it says something, right? It means you're a rigidly repped player that in a pressure situation knows what to do. Like, you revert to what the habits that you've created are. Shout out to Jamarcus Ingram for being able to find that in that moment. Christian Benford, stud. AJ Epenesa, stud. Damar Hamlin, stud. Getting that interception, I know it was an overthrow, but that's a big moment. That's as big of a moment. I mean, you would talk about football is one thing, but for this dude, last time he's on Monday Night Football, cardiac arrest. His next Monday Night Football game gets a pick. Come on. It's unbelievable. And I'm putting Brandon Codrington as a stud. I thought he was phenomenal as a punt returner. I know it was only 2 opportunities, but, to be very practical, that ball that he fielded off the bounce, I mean, this is the stuff that I talk about and I think is really important that gets overlooked. He's going to field that ball. He's standing at about the 10-yard line. The ball hits at the 23, takes a big bounce. He winds up fielding it, I don't know, maybe around the 15 off the bounce, and then he runs for 22 yards. I would estimate that if he didn't field that ball off the bounce, the Bills are definitely backed up inside their 10, probably around the 5. Well, because he fields it off the bounce, they start the drive at the 38. I mean, that's like a 35-yard play. And nobody's going to talk about it, right? You're just going to say, oh, that was a good return. No, it's a 35-yard play because the guy was smart enough and had the savvy to field it off the hop and not put the offense backed up inside the 10, but starting damn near midfield. That's smart. I mean, he's a rookie out of North Carolina Central. That's been on the team for like a month. I love that. So there you have it. All 22 review in the books. It was a fun one to watch, a fun one to break down. Thank you so much for being here. Next up, we start getting ready for the Baltimore Ravens. Big one, Sunday Night Football. We got crossover Thursday coming up. We've got my primer. We got final thoughts, predictions, and banged up Bills. Plenty of content coming your way this week and through the other things we have. Again, Subtext, Substack. Check them out. Link in today's show notes and everyday show notes for you to join and be part of what we have going on there. All right, folks, that's it for today. As always, I kindly ask that you share, subscribe, rate, and review. Have a great rest of your day. Go Bills, and I look forward to catching up with you again real soon.